Pittsburgh Steelers are predicted to make a pretty big trade this offseason. I'm all for it, and I think it makes total sense. If it could happen, and it happens the way that this projection says it's going to happen, there's no reason to hold back. What's going on, everybody? I'm Noah Strackmine. Thank you for jumping on to Steelers to Go, your daily to-go cup of Pittsburgh Steelers news and analysis. Find us on youtube.com/All Steelers Talkers. Subscribe anywhere you get your podcast. The Pittsburgh Steelers, they are heating up when it comes to quarterback talk and specifically Justin Fields. And I know the second that I toss that name out there, there's a large chunk of people that say, no chance. I would never even think about it. I don't even know why we continue to discuss Justin Fields, probably because the more that we talk about it, the more those in the national media, the more those with predictions, the more those with some knowledge, probably deeper than ours, continue to talk about it and continue to ramp it up and continue to talk about all the stars that may be aligning for the Pittsburgh Steelers to go out there and get Justin Fields. And currently, they're the odds-on favorite at DraftKings Sportsbook to land Justin Fields ahead of the Chicago Bears, which is pretty significant. It's the first time that the Steelers were the betting favorites to get a quarterback, and more specifically, Justin Fields. And there are a lot of times where the sports books are right. There are a lot of times where the sports book and Vegas somehow knows what we do not know, and that's how they beat us every weekend when it comes to betting. But there's also inside knowledge. There's also guys like Adam Schefter saying that Mike Tomlin is a big fan of Justin Fields, that PFF is saying, well, there are many names in the front office that are big fans of Justin Fields. There's guys like Benjamin Albright saying that the Steelers are one of three teams that he anticipates calling Chicago this offseason to at least discuss a trade. And then there is the big one, and that is PFF projecting 4 big moves this offseason, and they start with Justin Fields heading to the Pittsburgh Steelers. And there have been some qualms and some reasonable qualms. Why would you give up a first-round pick for Justin Fields? You're only going to get him for 1 year, 2 years max. This is a guy that is still unproven, and there are plenty of question marks, and I can't believe that you'd go out and you'd get somebody and you'd make such a splash for a risk, and why would you do that? I get that. A lot of it makes a lot of sense. And even if I disagree with plenty of it, it still makes a lot of sense. But this one, as soon as I lay it out there, should hopefully change some minds, because there is no way that you could look at this trade and say, the Steelers shouldn't do that. They should look elsewhere. Why not Kenny Pickett? That doesn't make any sense. Wait until the 3rd round. Draft a quarterback there. Go get whoever, Jacoby Brissett or Ryan Tannehill. They make a lot more sense than Justin Fields in this circumstance, because they don't. As soon as I laid this trade out, my thought immediately was, this is the best case scenario for the Pittsburgh Steelers. If it could happen, and it's probably realistic to happen, they have to make it happen. That trade is this. PFF laid out 4 of them, but the first one starts with Justin Fields to the Pittsburgh Steelers for a 2024 second-round pick, number 52 overall, and a 2025 fifth-round pick from the Pittsburgh Steelers. Contractually, they take on this year's $3.23 fully guaranteed contract plus a 5th-year option in 2025. They get 2 years to decide if Justin Fields is their guy before they ink him to a major deal. They give up a second-round pick and a 5th-round pick next year to make it happen, and they possibly have their quarterback for little to no money. A guy that a lot of people are saying, oh, well, you could use a second-round pick on a quarterback. You're not going to get a quarterback as good as Justin Fields, or who has the potential of Justin Fields, who's a former 11th overall pick, in the 2nd round or in the 3rd round. You're not going to get somebody who could possibly come in here and start immediately in the 2nd or the 3rd round. You're not going to get real competition against Kenny Pickett in the 2nd or the 3rd round. To give up a 2nd-round pick for Justin Fields is the easiest decision the Pittsburgh Steelers can make. If it's a 1st-round pick, I may be the only one on that boat. I may be the only one screaming to the masses, make it happen, make the trade. Justin Fields is full of potential. I talk to Chicago Bears fans all the time. constantly. And they are always telling me I would be so upset if the Chicago Bears traded Justin Fields. Doesn't make any sense. Don't get rid of him. I don't want Caleb Williams. I'd rather have Justin Fields and to build around Justin Fields. Those in Chicago know how good Justin Fields can be. They see the potential in this kid. They see how much of a ceiling he has and how he is nowhere close to it. And those on the outside, I get it. We haven't sat around and paid close attention to Justin Fields. You haven't watched every Bears game for 18 weeks over the last 3 seasons. It just hasn't happened. Justin Fields probably does have way more potential than anybody watching the Pittsburgh Steelers knows of, and to get him for a second-round pick, easiest decision you can make. The Pittsburgh Steelers can easily pull that off. Omar Khan, I have full faith in to be the con artist and to come through and say, yeah, second-round pick, let's make it happen. And let's just lay through what Justin Fields brings to the table for the Pittsburgh Steelers. He brings a running quarterback, which is great for an offense that is going to rely heavily on the running game. Play action, he's phenomenal at it, and Arthur Smith is supposed to be a genius when it comes to play action football. You add a Lamar Jackson element to your offense with a capable offensive coordinator. Mike Tomlin has preached for years now that he is looking for a mobile quarterback. And Kenny Pickett is mobile, but he doesn't ever use his mobility. He just stays in the pocket and then rolls out into more traffic most of the time. Justin Fields is phenomenal with his legs. He is great at the deep ball, has incredible arm strength, is great at play action, and he's 24 years old. He's 24 years old. You could say whatever you want about, oh, well, he hasn't done this in 3 years. Kenny Pickett hasn't done anything in 2 years, and Ryan Tannehill hasn't done anything in the last 2 years, and Jacoby Brissett hasn't done anything in the last 2 years or 3 years or however long you want to talk about it. That's out there for everybody. Justin Fields at least is 24 years old and had the best season of his career in 13 games in 2023. So at least he's on the up and up. At least he's a player on the rise. At least he's a guy that you could look at and say, there's got to be some untapped potential here somewhere. For a second-round pick, that's the easiest decision the Pittsburgh Steelers can make. You go out and you make that happen. The fifth-round pick next year, you don't even care about. The Steelers are going to trade that anyways. They always trade their fifth-round picks or their fourth-round picks or whatever. One of them's going. You might as well get rid of it now. Go get a quarterback. If it was a first-round pick, the argument against it, I understand. And I get, hey, look it, yeah, sometimes that's just too big of a price to pay, even if I would pay it. A second-round pick, you make that happen. You don't even think about it. You don't sit around and contemplate whether or not Justin Fields is your guy because Mike Tomlin's a big fan of him. The front office is reportedly a big fan of him. There are names out there that anticipate that the Pittsburgh Steelers are all in on this guy and that they're ready to make a splash this offseason and that they're ready to bring in a quarterback. And if Ryan Tannehill's staring you in the face for a market value of $5 million and Justin Fields is staring you in the face for the market value of a second-round pick and $3.25 million, you go get Justin Fields. It just makes so much sense. You could use your first-round pick on whatever position you want to use. You could head to free agency because you no longer have a quarterback contract. You're going to pay Mason Rudolph more than $3 million this season, and he's equally as big of a question mark. He just is. He's got 4 games under his belt. I'm sure you could find 4 games that looked better than Mason Rudolph's from Justin Fields over the last 3 seasons. You could only find 4 of them from Mason Rudolph over that same exact time period. Why would you spend that much money on Mason Rudolph and not go get Justin Fields? Instead, use that money in free agency, sign a veteran offensive lineman, sign a center, sign an inside linebacker, sign a corner, sign a safety. Go fill whatever position you were going to fill in the second round in free agency, and then utilize that first round pick to get someone else. And then utilize that second round pick to get your quarterback that's already in the league and has already looked good and has proven that he could play in the NFL, even if he isn't a Super Bowl caliber quarterback in 2023. Because quite frankly, neither is Mason Rudolph and definitely isn't Kenny Pickett. Neither is Ryan Tannehill or Jacoby Brissett. I just don't see how it makes sense. For a second round pick, you go get him. You can figure out the rest later. You can make the moves everywhere else to go fill the rest of your holes. You're not giving up enough to make this an unrealistic trade. You can work around this quite easily. And for the potential that you're getting in a quarterback in your biggest position of need, you make that happen.